You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
We will call the meeting of the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. I have 8:01 p.m. We'll start by introducing members of the commission and staff. Commission member Joe Chadwick. Joe, are you here?
Joe Chadwick is present.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Viuzzo. Commission member Joe Viuzzo. Joe, are you here?
Joe Viuzzo's here.
Thank you, Joe. And Massimo Liguori. Massimo, you're here?
Massimo Liguori is here.
And I am Chuck Andrus, chair. We have absent a number of members. Fred Russo, Marcy Pelusi, and Sharon could not make this meeting. But we do have a quorum. Our staff this evening is our town planner, Harry Smith. Harry, are you here?
I am here.
I understand our assistant planner will not make it tonight, Evan Brining.
That's
and
correct.
Our clerk recording secretary, Michelle Martin, is also here. And we're going to follow a normal format for public hearings, which is the applicant goes first, makes his presentation, including any consultants. After the applicant gets done, we turn it over to the commission and staff, typically hear a summary of a staff report and questions, comments from commission members. Then we open up to the public. We ask that you state your name and address for the public, make your public comments. And after the public's done, we allow the applicant to respond. We may or may not conclude the public hearing, depending on how it goes. And in terms of how to participate, I'm going to ask, since Evan isn't here, Harry, can you instruct the viewers how the public can participate when that time comes up?
Yeah, Harry Smith, town planner. I'm a little rusty, haven't done this for a while, so hopefully it's okay. If your computer has a microphone for two-way communication, then during a public hearing, if you wish to speak, you can press the raise hand button in the participant window down in the lower mid section of the screen, or wave if you're desperate and can't find the button. We will look around during the public hearing, the public session of the public hearing. If you don't have a microphone, you'll need to call in on a phone in order to speak. During public hearings, if you do not wish to speak, you may type your comments into the chat feature. We try to look at that, but we can't promise we're going to be able to verbalize those for you. It's better to speak. Those joining through use of a computer and Zoom software should note that you do not need to type in your full name to view the meeting. But if you do want to speak, you'll have to provide the commission with your name and address for the record. If you're joining on a mobile application, you can click more in the lower right-hand corner and select raise hand. If you're dialing in by a phone, when prompted, there's a meeting ID you will need to enter, and that's on the agenda in front. You should be able to, I'll just tell you what it is, 827-7242-0034, and hopefully you have an agenda in front of you to do that. You'll enter the meeting muted. During the public hearings, if you wish to speak, press *9 to raise your hand. Again, if you wish to speak, you need to give your name per state law for the record.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Harry. I didn't ask Fred to read the legal notice of public hearing because Fred isn't here, but Harry, can you pinch it and read the legal notice?
Yep, got that too. Legal notice, Town of Branford. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, October 3, 2024 at 8 p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. 1. Application number 24-8.4, special exception for an automobile service facility located at 200 and 206 North Main Street, Premier 200 North Main, Realty LLC, care of Robert Alvine, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file in the Planning and Zoning Commission's office at the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford, Connecticut 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at branford-cd.gov. Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, C. Andres, chairperson.
Chuck Candace, Chair. Thank you, Harry. With that, we'll start our public hearing matters. We're going through our normal agenda, just following the items as listed on our agenda. So we'll start with items number 1 or 2, which is LRAC LLC, care of attorney Bernie Pellegrino, applicant AJGG Realty LLC, care of Paul Mendocino, owner, 4 Liesel Lane. This is a special exception for automobile leasing, moving of the enterprise rental, I believe. And we started that at our last meeting on September 5th, and this is continuation of that public hearing. Mr. Pellegrino, you ready to proceed? Bernie, I believe you're muted.
Yeah, I have made you a co-host. There you go.
Sorry. Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Bernard Pellegrino, attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm at 475 Whitney Avenue in New Haven. I represent the applicant. Also with me, John Petrie and Luke Sofair, who's our civil engineer. We may hear from them, and if plans are needed, Harry, I think Luke would be needed to, if he cannot already, share his screen, because I think he has the plans.
Yeah, he's all set too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Actually, Mr. Chair, 2 public hearings. I believe both were opened because we have 2 special exceptions, one for the leasing and one for the excavation. So I think we opened both. We tabled them both last month. I'm sorry. So we did make our presentation. And at the end of the public hearing, there were some comments, outstanding staff comments that we needed to respond to, including some minor changes to the plan set. Those plans were submitted. The changes, I think we had discussed, some clarification on the landscaping plan as to changing grades, which there were none. Some labeling of the easement areas that are existing, and moving a transformer location and lines related thereto to the site, on the site. So those changes have been made. The plans were submitted. Subsequent to the submission of the plan, we received the revised and completed staff report, which addresses those changes, also goes through some of the issues relative to buffering and landscaping that we discussed last time. I think the relocation of this existing enterprise rental car from in town to the subject property at 4 Liesel Lane will provide a benefit to the town. It will certainly improve the aesthetics of the existing site with the new use. It'll be an upgrade to the building. I think it meets your special exception criteria. We agree with the comments that are contained in the staff report. I think there is certainly sufficient basis for the commission to make the determinations that Evan has highlighted relative to landscaping based on existing conditions, existing vegetation and structures, for the buffering regulations, and as to landscaping on the one side, which is the side of our building in the rear of the Sherman Williams building. I think based on the overall excellence in landscaping that is included in our landscaping plan, I think there's sufficient basis for a finding that 5-foot landscape buffer could be waived. And we also believe that there is more than sufficient parking on site for this use. And certainly that's based on the wealth of experience that Mr. Petrie has and the staff has in operations in town and operations in adjoining municipalities where they have very similar rental centers. So we would respectfully request that both of our special exceptions be granted. We're happy to answer any follow-up questions anyone might have. But that's kind of where we stand at this point.
Chuck Andrews, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. We'll turn over to Harry. Harry, do you want to summarize or review any additional information in the amended staff report?
Sure. Harry Smith, Town Planner. Again, this was prepared by Assistant Town Planner Evan Brining. I did take a look at it today, and again, just refresh my memory and have a couple of tweaks to propose in the findings and conditions. But before we get there, I'd just like to highlight a couple of things, most of which are mentioned by Attorney Pellegrino. One is the need for modification of landscaping requirements to allow this to proceed, since the greenbelt buffer is not fully provided for, as well as the side and rear landscaping that we just mentioned. Also, just to go over the parking requirements, just a little bit more. Evan summarized, and I can show you the chart just so it's up here in case anybody has any questions. I'll share my screen for a second. Okay, can everyone see this portion of the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Evan looked at any other community in Connecticut that had a requirement for gas station service repair rental facilities for motorized vehicles, and had this standard here, which is 4 spaces per 1,000 gross leasable square feet of floor area. And also looked at planning advisory service report, and there's some standards from across the country, which seem roughly in line with the one from Hamden. So the recommendation was that the commission would apply the 4 spaces per 1,000. And if you do the math for a facility of 2,356 square feet, that comes to approximately 10 spaces. So we're recommending that. And with that, I'm going to move, unless there are any other questions, move right to proposed findings and conditions. So should the commission choose to follow along with the recommendation on the parking spaces, I just provided a finding that would document that. Evan's already provided the wording that's used for providing for the modification of landscaping requirements. And finding 2, finding 1 is sort of a general finding about compliance with the special exception criteria. And 3 is just documenting that the plan you're approving is the final proposed site plan as prepared by John Paul Garcia and Associates, as last revised September 26th, 2024. And with respect to the conditions, all I'm proposing in terms of changes, I did go out to the site this morning and saw there were quite a bit of existing non-compliant lighting. The plans don't necessarily specifically say they're going to be removed, so I imagine they are since new lights proposed, but I'm just proposing here that prior to the issuance of a zoning permit or authorization for a building permit, that all the existing lighting that's not in compliance with zoning regulations be taken off the building. Particularly since there are residences, when the tree leaves are down, around the corner of the site, and the lights probably do shine out to the residents that are abutting this. Just a couple of tweaks on the lighting condition. So it says 300 degrees Kelvin, and just a little grammatical thing here, and that's it. There was a note on the minutes about, I think there was a question about concerns raised by an abutter at 18 Clancy, I think. So, Mr. Pellegrino, I don't know if you've had a chance to address those with him or that person.
Right.
Right?
Chuck Anderson here. There was, it's before the last public hearing, there was a general concern. One of the neighbors had said that they were concerned about the stormwater during flooding events, that it could be a problem. My recollection, Mr. Pellegrino, please jump in, was that you said right now there is no stormwater management facilities on site. You're not addressing stormwater at all. As the existing conditions and under the proposed conditions, you had a stormwater management plan that looked at rates of runoff and so forth, and that you believed it would address that. Anyway, that's my recollection. Mr. Pellegrino, please jump in.
Yeah, and mine as well. And in fact, in addition to that, I think Mr. Sofair, our civil engineer, upon just a follow-up question to him by me, actually testified that there would actually be a reduction in runoff to the direction of that particular neighbor's property in the rear based on the implementation of this new system, so that the redevelopment of the site would actually be a benefit to him on any perceived stormwater impact by reducing the volume and the peak flows in that direction.
Great. Thank you
That's
very
correct.
much.
Just for the record, Luke Sofair, civil engineer with John Pulverstein Associates, 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany. That is correct what Attorney Pellegrino stated. We did include an extensive underground stormwater management gallery system. As part of our application, we included a full stormwater analysis for all events up to and including the 100-year storm that demonstrated a reduction in the peak flow and the volume of runoff for all storm events. So compared to what is currently there now, all runoff from our property should be diminished as part of the construction of this project.
Thank you.
Thanks. Chuck Anderson. Harry, did you have any other comments or thoughts before we ask if commission members have anything?
No, I do not.
Okay, great. Any members of the commission have any questions or comments before we open up to the public?
No.
Hearing none, then let's open up to the public to see if any member of the public wish to comment. Again, I know there were, I think, a comment or two last time, but are there any members of the public that wish to comment?
I do not see anyone.
Okay. Okay, since no members of the public, we'll turn it back over to the applicant. Does the applicant have any further comments you'd like to put in the record at this time?
No, I think we're all set. On the grading and excavation, there's minor changes in grades, and Luke mentioned last week that special exception is really solely required based on the excavation and material that would be removed from the site for the construction of the underground drainage system. So we'd hope you would look favorably on both of our special exception applications. We worked pretty hard with staff to come up with a plan that we think meets the criteria, and I appreciate the work that they did with us, and I think it shows in the favorable recommendation and our ability to kind of knock off any items that had not been dealt with head on. And we appreciate, as always, the work that they were able to, and the hand that they were able to give us.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. Harry, just a question. I noticed the staff report. Do we need 2 votes? Is there a separate resolution for the grading application, or do you recall?
There is not. I mean, you could do it that way. I think we've frankly probably done it both ways.
Okay.
I think if we just refer in the motion that you're approving both applications, cite the numbers with the same findings and conditions, that'll suffice.
Yeah, I would think that would be fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comments from commission members or staff before we close these matters? Hearing none, then we will close items number 1 and 2 as a public hearing. And again, this may be something we can take up when we complete our public hearings. Thank you, Mr. Pellegrino.
Thank you very much.
Turning into item number 3 is Premier 200 North Main Street LLC. Applicant and owner, care of R. Alvin, 200 and 206 North Main Street. This is a special exception for our automobile facility, and I think we're going to open this matter at least tonight. Is the applicant ready, or Harry?
Mr. Chairman, just if you'll indulge me, I think there may be a neighbor or two with respect to 1201 West Main Street application. And I could just announce, if you want, that the applicant has requested that the public hearing be continued to the October 17th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, which will be starting at 7 o'clock. Same Zoom link and everything. So they, I don't believe, are even in attendance tonight, though somebody representing it might be here. But that's the request. They've also offered a time extension.
Okay. So thank you, Harry. So if you were here on that one, again, that's the motor vehicle services, the oil right around near the corner. That we'll continue that one to our October 17th meeting. We did get a peer review traffic review of that. If anyone was here and that wanted to take a look at that, I'm sure that can be available. So with that, then we'll continue then with item number 3, which is Premier 200 North Main Realty LLC. Is the applicant ready to proceed on that one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summer Hill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors, and our office is at 60 Wall Street in Madison. Robert Alvine, the owner and applicant, is here also with me tonight. May I share my screen, Harry?
Sure, you should have the ability to do that.
Okay. Bear with me one sec. If the commission can see my screen, I've brought up the town's geographic information system. I thought I would just use this just quickly to give you some context. I think the commissioners probably all know where the sites are here, but the addresses are 200 and 206 North Main Street. So there's 2 parcels that are the subject of this application. This is, if you can see my cursor, this is the 206 parcel, and to the left, to the west, is the 200 parcel. This is a 2016 ortho photo on the town's geographic information system. So you'll see if I zoom in a bit, you'll see that at the time there was a building on the 200 parcel. Our new building, which I'll show the commission in just a sec, is essentially proposed in this same location. So today, the 206 parcel here, the eastern parcel, is essentially as it was in 2016. So I'll zoom back out just a little bit. You can, of course, see Interstate 95 to the north of the parcel. And just for some context, this is the Ivy Street intersection with North Main Street. So I will see if I can switch right to the drawings without stopping sharing. Can the commission see the title sheet of the drawing set now?
Not yet.
Okay, I think I may have to stop sharing and see if I can if I can, just bear with me 1 second. I'll try this again. How about that?
Yep, here we are.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is just the title sheet of the drawing set that you all have. And I will scroll down to the existing conditions plan and zoom in a little bit if I can. So North Main Street, just to orient everyone, Route 1 North Main Street on the bottom of the page. North is up and to the right. These are the two parcels that we just looked at on the geographic information system. This westerly parcel is the one that used to have the building on it, and this is the easterly parcel. There's an inland wetland. You can see hopefully you can see clear enough the line with the dark triangles on it. That's an inland wetland associated with a highway drainage ditch along the southerly side of 95. And that wetland, as you can see, pretty much runs along the common division line between the parcels and the highway. The blue line, the blue dashed arced line, is the 100-foot upland review area from the inland wetland. We made an application to the Inland Wetland Commission and received approval for them some months ago now. The site today, there's a little bit of pavement on the site today. The vast majority of the site is gravel and stoned surface. There's very little vegetation on the site. There's a slope along the rear of the site that drops down to the wetland, and it's mostly covered with Phragmites and other invasive species. This was all talked about during the wetland process. There is a lawn area out front between the highway and the stone surfaced area, but other than that, there's no real vegetation or trees on the parcel within the proposed activity area. The parcels are subject to a drainage easement in favor of the state of Connecticut, the Department of Transportation. You can hopefully the commission can see the drainage pipe running through the parcel here. The parcel also has a billboard sign on it that you can see from the highway. So it's subject to an easement for this billboard sign also. The state drainage system is proposed to remain untouched, and the billboard sign is also proposed to remain. The only change with the billboard sign is the current overhead service to it will be underground. Ultimately, it will go underground. So that's just a quick overview of the site. Oh, I should also tell you that there is some site lighting, pole-mounted lighting on the site now. You're probably all familiar with where this is. It's right across the street from Mr. Alvine's Kia dealership. So there is some pole-mounted site lighting on the site also, and we're proposing to save that and reuse it and add to it in the proposed plan. And please stop me if you have any questions while I'll do this. I'll try to do this succinctly if I can. This hatched area represents this is the site preparation plan, and this hatched area represents the limits of the bituminous concrete pavement that we're going to remove. So you can see the remainder, the vast majority of the remainder of the site is gravel and stone surface. So the proposal, this is the proposed plan, is to construct this building on the western parcel, on the west side of it. Again, essentially, approximately where the previous building was. It's 106 feet in this dimension, perpendicular to North Main Street, and 80 feet in width. It's a one-story building. I have the architectural drawings that I can share in a second to show the commission what the building looks like. And the remainder of the site is proposed to be a bituminous concrete parking area for 119 vehicles. associated with both the Kia and the Subaru dealerships that Mr. Alvine owns. I should have said at the very beginning, I'm going to give you this overview of the site and the proposal, and then I was going to turn it over to Mr. Alvine, and he'll explain the use of the building and the use of the site. So the site is already served now by gas and public water and municipal sewer, the municipal sewer system because of the previous building. So this new building will be served by those existing underground services. There used to be an overhead power and television and telephone service. We will bring that underground. So all utility services for the building and for the site lighting will be underground. We went through a review with the engineering department. We had several rounds of review comments that we addressed, especially the stormwater management system, which I'll go over briefly. And I believe that we haven't changed anything since the wetland application approval. So I would imagine that the engineering department is now satisfied with the plan and especially the stormwater management system. So today there is no stormwater management on the parcel. Surface water runoff from the majority of the parcel drains to the rear, down the slope, and to the wetland associated with the highway ditch. In our developed condition, our proposal is to collect all stormwater runoff from both the building and all of the paved area, except very minor portions of the two driveways that go out to Route 1, and direct the stormwater runoff at two different locations. Here, if you can see my cursor, about the midpoint rear of the site, and here at the east rear of the site. So we'll collect and direct all stormwater runoff from the building roof, as well as all the pavement, to a catch basin, which then directs the stormwater to a stormwater treatment structure, a hydrodynamic separator type stormwater treatment structure, and then to subsurface infiltration systems. So there's two separate stormwater systems that consist of a catch basin, a stormwater treatment structure, and a subsurface stormwater management system. These rectangular hatched areas that you see at each catch basin location represent a permanent turf reinforcement mat to be installed on the slope in case the system ever overflows and water comes up out of the two catch basin grates. We've laid this out and graded it such that water would run down these two reinforced areas into the wetland adjacent to the site, partially on the site and adjacent to the site. There's also there's very minor grading on the site. We are not regrading this slope. Initially, we had some grading here in this right rear corner, but we were able to change the grading of the parking area such that we do not have to regrade this slope. There's a little bit, I'll zoom in a little closer here. At this western rear portion of the site, we have to construct a small retaining wall in order to not grade over our property boundary line or the highway line for Interstate 95. As you can see from these three boxes that show the top of the wall elevations and the bottom of the wall elevations, you can see that the wall is not very tall. It's only 2 feet tall at the western end, 3 feet tall here at the beginning of this curved portion. Excuse me, and 1 foot, 1.9 feet tall, almost 2 feet at the eastern end. So it's a relatively small retaining wall, and it allows us to have this driveway grade up at the right elevation and not grade over the property line. The remainder of the grading on the site, I'll zoom back out. is very minor changes. It just changes it evens out the surface, of course, because it's going to be paved, and it's graded such that it will direct the surface water runoff again to this catch basin and this catch basin in the right rear corner. Make sure I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. We are closing off an existing curb cut that is here, and we are proposing to add a curb cut at the eastern end of the site that does not exist today. These three dark areas that you see are new sidewalk construction. This one is to close where the existing curb cut gets closed so we can continue the sidewalk across. And the two on the left end, the west end and the east end, are continuations, new sidewalk that will create a continuation from our site's property, our western property line, to our eastern property boundary. The only other thing I can think of, unless I'm missing something, is that a couple things actually. We're proposing a 6-foot high black color PVC coated chain link fence around the entire site for security. There will be cantilever slide gates at each of the curb cuts here on the eastern side and on the western side. As I said before, we're saving the site lighting that's there. We're adding to it also these dark circles that you see that my cursor is circling are perimeter site lights all the way around the perimeter. There's no internal within the pavement area. There's no internal lighting. All the pole mounted lighting and all the building mounted lighting that would be required by the building code at doors will meet current standards for backlight, uplight, and glare. It'll all have a color temperature of 3000 Kelvin or warmer. We submitted a photometric plan. We recognize that there's a couple of changes that need to be made to that plan. The assistant town planner, Evan, picked up those two changes, and we're in the process of making those changes now. We also, in the rear of the building, in the left rear corner, we have a waste and recycling receptacles area that's fenced in. It obviously won't be able to be seen from the street. And this larger, somewhat rectangular area is a crushed stone surface area that we're proposing in order to meet the 60% impervious surface coverage requirement of the zoning regulations. The stormwater management system, I should have said, meets the requirements, I believe, of the town of Branford zoning regulations, as well as the relatively new Connecticut DEP stormwater quality manual. And again, it was reviewed by the town's engineering department, and I believe that we've addressed all their comments in the wetland application process. So with that, I will zoom out a bit. Actually, I will, just for a second, I will stop sharing and share the building drawings if I can. And then I would ask Mr. Alvine to go over the use of the site and the use of the building, if that's okay. So I will try to share again. And the commission should see, hopefully, the building elevations. Can the commission see those?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So these are, it's a pre-engineered metal building. As I had said earlier, 1 story. It's 80 feet in width parallel to the street. and 106 feet in length, in depth, perpendicular to the street. There's garage doors, as you can see, on either end, and person doors also on either end, and some windows on the north, south, and east elevations. The west elevation, there aren't any windows or doors. The west elevation is up against the westerly property line, as you saw in the on the site plan. So I will I'll stop sharing, and if it's okay, Bob, if you could go over the use of the site and the building, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's great to be back on in front of you on another one of our projects on North Main Street. The project in front of the building in front of you is very similar to a building we brought before this commission a couple of years ago and finished probably a little over a year or 2 years at this point at 132 Ivy Street. And that was in relation to the Subaru store. This particular facility would be primarily used by our Kia store, and it's really necessitated by service overflow. It's not a customer-facing facility. It's not. It will not be. It'll be a good-looking facility like we did on 132 Ivy Street. We're very prideful about our properties, and the facility will predominantly be used for our service of vehicles for heavier type of jobs, and heavier type of jobs today, especially for our Kia store, are more working on electric cars, EVs, so battery replacements, things along that line, and they require a lot more room. So the average, when you can on an ICE car, you can do a engine in one bay. A electric car takes 3 bays. So we need the room, and currently our Kia store is about 30% of what we sell is electric. And when you include battery or plug-in hybrid and hybrid, it's probably 70%. So we need the room. The balance of the property would be just simply for vehicle storage. Customers will not be over there. They'll not drop cars off there. Nothing will be. They'll continue to be dropping their vehicles off at our Kia store. And then we will shuttle the cars over as we need, as we determine that it's going to be. And the other bulk of the vehicle storage is new car vehicle storage for our Kia store.
Checking into share. Thank you, Mr. Alvine.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else from the applicant at this time?
I did, and I apologize, I did forget to speak about landscaping. And I know, Evan, the assistant town planner, had some comments in his staff report. Evan was nice enough to call me last Friday afternoon and go over his staff report with me and then send it to me. If I could share my screen again, I can quickly show you the landscape plan, I think. I seem to have, bear with me one sec. Okay. Can the commission see the colored landscape plan?
We can now, yes.
So we prepared, and again, I know Evan has some comments regarding landscaping, but this is the landscape plan that we prepared for the Wetland Commission. Also, this is the same drawing set. The light yellow area is a conservation seed mix. This gray area in the rear is something that we proposed based on conversations with Jamie Frederick, the wetland officer. We are proposing to remove the invasive species on this slope, supervised by the project's wetland scientist, Matt Davison from Davison Environmental, and then replant that slope. And the brighter green area that you see would be lawn, would be a maintained lawn area. So the lighter yellow green would be a conservation seed mix that would not need frequent mowing or frequent maintenance. It will need some maintenance so that woody vegetation doesn't become established. And again, the gray area is the replanting, invasive species removal and replanting of that slope. And the only plant material we proposed is we have, I believe, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 trees proposed to be planted along the highway line of Route 1 on Mr. Alvine's property, but across the entire frontage of the property in front of the chain link fence that we spoke about earlier. So that's the landscape plan, a brief summary of the landscape plan. And I think that's all we have, Mr. Chairman, and be glad, of course, to answer any questions the commission may have.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Hawk. Harry, do you want to review the staff report with us?
Sure. Harry Smith, Town Planner. Again, pinch hitting for Evan Brining, who has done the review of the application. I believe it was noted that there is a Section 6.8 grading application in the process of being submitted, shall we say, due to some of the work on, I believe, the north side of the site within 100 feet of the inland wetlands on site. So I believe we have a form and we'll need a fee and so forth and have that complete. But in order to advertise the required public hearing for that, I don't think that can get on any earlier than the first meeting in November. So as I think was noted, this application would need to be continued to catch up with the other applications. So everything can happen at the same time in terms of any approval the commission would want to issue. So there's that out there. And I believe in the landscaping, just to follow up with the last item mentioned, are you requesting a waiver of the requirement that a landscape architect prepare the landscaping plan?
Yes, we are, Harry. And
Okay.
thanks for bringing that up. And that's the same thing we did. The commission may remember we made the same request for the 132 Ivy Street application that Mr. Alvine mentioned earlier.
Okay. So I'll just note that. I know Evan brought up the fact there were a few sections of landscaping regulations that aren't complied with, one being, I guess, the planting bed around the building, side and rear yard landscaping. And typically there's been a little bit more than just plain street trees along the frontage of Route 1 in particular. And we can show you a couple of examples of that in other applications, but those are what were noted. So I'll just leave that there since, again, I'm pinch hitting here. The parking, he's noted that, and I got to appreciate the explanation of how the building's going to be used. So that whether there needs to be the typical amount of parking, required parking, like was done on the main Subaru site across the street, where I believe there was the dedicated parking required by the regulations, and there was the vehicle storage area. So in view of how you're using the property and that there's no separate, if you will, business over here, it's really part of the main business, is my understanding. We'll look at that, but it may need to be considered under the parking table as a different use. That would be one way to get at it without having to get a variance or something like that. But I'll talk about that with Evan about how to approach that and talk with you and possibly Bob about how to do that. And we probably would have to have some kind of condition locking that down so that if in the future you wanted to, for whatever reason, sell the property and for it to be its own motor vehicle sales or whatever business, then there would need to be a reconfiguration of the area to designate the required parking, for example, something like that. And I know you noted the lighting was going to be, plan was going to be reworked to get all the foot candle readings under the limits and the regulations, I'm assuming, because there are areas over the 10 foot candle limit in the off the first row, if you will, of display cars. The only other note I saw in the report that might be mentioned is the need to have a note on there that the topsoil will be saved and reused on site as needed if whatever topsoil is excavated. I think that's all I've got at the moment since the application will be continued. I don't think there's any. I was thinking about where it should be continued to the October 17th, but since we can't get the other application advertised and eligible for public hearing, maybe it just makes sense to continue it right to the 3rd of November. I don't know if I'll leave that for any comment you want to make on that. And I think that's all I've got at the moment.
Chuck Candace, Chair. Thank you, Gary. Am I correct that the properties are not going to be merged? It is going to stay as two separate lots?
That's a good question, Tom.
We haven't, and maybe Mr. Alvine can chime in, but if I could, I would imagine that we would have to merge them, I would think.
I would think so.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're willing to do that, that's preferable. In other occasions, we've had some kind of condition, putting a deed restriction prohibiting a separate sale of properties without the commission.
I think we merged a bunch when we did the Subaru store. We don't have a problem in doing that.
Okay. So we can either have a condition or you can propose that, as part of the application.
Yeah. Sure. No problem.
Okay.
Questions, comments from commission members before we open up to the public? Hearing none, then let's see if there are any public comments at this time. Any member of the public wish to comment?
I'm not seeing anyone, but let me double check here. And I see nothing in the chat, and I see nothing in terms of raised hands or anything else. Nope.
Okay, well, it sounds like one item where we should give direction to the applicant is whether we should have a landscape plan from a landscape architect or a landscaping professional on this, and they're asking that it be waived. I mean, my initial reaction is this is it's a large site, it's a whole new development. I know that for the earlier one that we had, the Liesel Lane one, that was commercial car use and had a landscape professional comment. That was part of the comments on that. I mean, I understand that when if it's just a change of use, if it's something minor and it's an existing site and you're not doing much else, that's one thing, but this seems like a whole new site. I know Marcy isn't here tonight, but I mean, that's something that we've, for a whole new development, my inclination is we would want to have a landscape architect at least, or a landscape professional at least comment on it, give some review of it. I don't know. I mean, you mentioned, Mr. Ott mentioned that we waived it last time. Frankly, I don't remember that, and I don't remember the site and whether it was just a redevelopment of an existing use or it was a whole new structure being constructed and how big the site was and all that. So, I mean, I don't know where, and again, we're kind of short tonight too in terms of membership, but either Joe or Joe Chadwick, Joe Vaiuso, Massimo, any thoughts or comments so we can give some guidance to the applicant on that?
Joe Chadwick speaking. I mean, to the extent that the site does not exist independently, it would be helpful to have somebody with some landscape expertise look at what they're planting compared to what's around it. There is, you want to have things that are not going to be fighting, that are going to be, mutually agreeable, and this is not going to be such an extensive bit of planting that you would possibly even need a landscape architect. There's a certain amount of, the design of green space that you get with the landscape architect as opposed to a horticulturalist. And that may be all you need to assist with determining the species of things that are going to thrive in that environment and sort of not suffer from anything that may be adjacent to it. So yes, I agree. This needs a professional. It would benefit from a professional touch. I don't think that something as extreme as a landscape architect is really necessary, just because you're not really forming space with landscape. This is really just a fairly technical matter, but landscape architects would say otherwise.
Chuck Anderson, thanks, Joe. Joe Vayuso, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts. Well, a couple things. One, it's in my opinion, it's a new site and it's a relatively large site. It's also a site that's on Route 1, and the landscaping is, like Joe says, not going to be that extensive, but at least it'll be looked at by a professional. But at the same time, I think we need to be consistent with what we do with how to determine a landscape architect, especially when back a few months ago when we insisted many times of that project across the street from Honda on West Main Street, which was a dealer to do a dealership there, to put up a used car dealership, I think. And we insisted that he had to come back with a landscape architect for that site. I think we need to stay consistent with that situation, that we be consistent on landscaping architects. But mainly, it's a new site, a brand new site, and I believe in this situation it may not be needed because they're doing a great job over there. No matter what, that whole area has been done very well. But it's just staying consistent with what we require is what I'm looking at. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Massimo, thoughts?
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, I think that, it's a very exposed piece of property to the public. There's a lot of traffic that goes back and forth. And I think a landscape design, plan should be put in place. Like Joe Chadwick was saying, making sure that the right species are placed down in certain areas, so they don't, kill each other and what have you. But I think there should be some type of plan B, the landscape plan. That's about the only thing I got on that.
Great. Check in, sure. Thank you, Massimo. So I think that the consensus of at least Commissioner Present is that we would like a professional landscaping plan. I guess there's a little flexibility as to it's an actual landscape architect, but a landscape professional that would comment on this before the next public hearing.
Would you like to, just so there's no question of the acceptability of whoever's selected, ask the applicant to run the qualifications of whoever's going to be doing it, if it's not going to be a landscape architect, by staff, just so they're not going off in a direction, spending some money, and all of a sudden it's said, that person, we don't think that's qualified enough or whatever.
Right. I think that certainly makes sense. You can consult with staff, and we could hopefully get that resolved, so you don't end up wasting and taking more time to get the right person.
Is that Bob? Is that okay with you?
Nothing personal, Mike.
No, I am not a landscape professional. That,
Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw Mr. Alvin shake his head yes.
Yeah,
so-
no, it's fine.
Right. Okay, great. Okay, is there anything else the applicant wants to add at this time?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from
So my
Harry?
only question is continuing to, probably makes sense to continue it to November 3rd.
Is it November
Unless there's
3rd?
some reason you may want to discuss anything at the next meeting, in the middle of, if you will, the waiting for the public hearing on the grading application to be ready to be considered.
I think the next hearing is November 7th.
Oh, 7th, I'm sorry. Yeah, the 7th. Correct. After the next one on the 17th, yes.
Right. Okay. Does that make sense? Continue to November 7th?
Okay, head nodding. All right.
Okay. Okay. So then for item number 3, then we'll continue this matter to our meeting of November 7th. We'll take it up again. And also at that time, we'll have the 6.8 application filed. We can combine the public hearing with that one. So thank you very much, Mr. Alvine, Mr. Ott.
thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to items number 4 and 5. This is Faulkner Island Development LLC, Anthony J. LaSala, trustee owner, 1201 West Main Street. This is the special exception coastal site plan motor vehicle service and the special exception for grading. Again, I think we announced that earlier that this matter, the applicant has requested that we continue this matter to our October 17th meeting. We did get a peer review submitted some additional information, a report, and I believe the applicant would want to address that. So, and they've asked that this matter be continued. So,
we also have a time extension, assuming you're accepting an offer from the applicant.
yes.
Okay,
So the applicant has consented to that. So, so any commission members have any comment? If not, then we'll just continue items number 4 and 5 to our October 17th public hearing. So that brings us then, that is it for our public hearings for this evening. And I think then we do have one matter that we can probably take up, or actually 2 matters, and that's items number 1 and 2. That's the 4 Liesel Lane, the enterprise rental application, the special exceptions for automobile leasing and grading. You want to pull up your staff report with your tweaks, Harry?
Sure. Can everyone see the staff recommendation findings in the highlighted yellow area?
Yes, Harry, we
Okay.
can see that. And again, this is the staff report was sent out, so we've had it, and then Harry made the additional tweaks, the finding in number 4, which you reviewed during the public hearing, and then added 2B about removing the existing lighting, and then the standard lighting conditions, and correct some grammar. Does anyone have any comments about any of this? It appeared there was no, the stormwater issue that a neighbor had raised had been addressed by the application. It sounded our town engineer was good with it. And, I think economic development was in favor of it. So it looked good from my part. Any comments from commission members about this? Joe?
Just commenting that I think it's a perfect fit for this application, because it was used for repair in the past, but it's a good fit for enterprise for them to move over there. I think it's a nice fit.
Great.
Thanks, Joe. Joe Chadwick, any thoughts?
I've got to agree. This is probably the least controversial application I've seen in a very, very long time. my dog and I walk by the site regularly, and wondering what you would put back there as a use, always sort of, nickled at me. And a rental car place is perfect. It's a sign on the street. You're not displaying cars all over the front of Route 1. And it's it's a very good neighbor for everything else that's there. I think this is like a perfect application.
Great. Check in to share. Thank you, Joe. Massimo?
Everything checks out positive to me on this application.
Great. Thank you, Massimo. Yeah, I agree. I remember that when it was a used car dealership, it was kind of messy. I may have bought a used car for a kid down there. But I think it's an upgrade. It's improved the stormwater drainage, and I think it's probably a better location for Enterprise where they are now. It's a little tight over there, and a little more space and a little, get in and out maybe a little better. So yeah, I'm in favor as well. With that said, then, does someone want to make a motion to approve both applications? Again, it's the special exception for leasing and the explained grading application by adopting the recommended staff findings and conditions in the staff report, including the amendments that Harry has made and that are presently displayed before us.
Chadwick moves the concurrent motions.
Motion made to approve the applications by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Vayuso seconds.
Second by Joe Vayuso. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick?
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso?
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Massimo?
Massimo's in favor.
And the chair is also in favor. So those applications are approved.
Yeah.
That brings us then to the minutes. I think you were still touching up the September 5th minutes, but we did send out the September 19th minutes. Harry, those were good to vote on as far as you could tell?
I did take another look. Let me stop sharing my screen here. And just the paragraph explaining the RFP posting for the planning consultant, probably use some tweaking. I can read out my tweak so we can just edit it up and bring it at the next meeting. Whatever your preference is.
Do you want to, is it a big tweak or small tweak? I mean,
It's slightly a little bit complicated. It's not a super minor tweak. It's just a couple of edits of things. I don't have it.
Why don't we just wait?
All right. Yeah. It's probably better to do it. All right.
Okay. So we'll hold off on
those. Okay.
Any minutes. That brings us into correspondence. Do we have any?
I do not believe so. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to run to the front and just double check the folder a second.
Sure.
No, we have no correspondence to the entire commission. We did receive an inquiry about a potential application, but I'll get back to the potential applicant about that directly. That's not really communication with the commission per se. So none.
So no correspondence then.
Nope.
And then going under old business, most of these matters look like there's public hearings, a lot of them for our next meeting. First two.
Yes, the first two are set for the next meeting. You may recall 38 Howard at the request of the applicant was they offered a time extension and the public hearing was set for the 21st of November. Number 9 East Main Street will be next meeting set for the next meeting. Item number 5, 115 Thimble Islands Road. I received a request from the applicant to waive the public hearing requirements as a special exception modification. Basically what I've taken a look at the plan. That basically is a house. This was butting up to the railroad tracks in Stony Creek. As you go under the bridge there on the right, there was a property. They proposed to build a house in back. which I think they're in the process of doing possibly. They would like to regrade it and have a retaining wall in the downslope side. So I think that's really there really is no impact on abutting property. It's just the fact that the grading's occurring within 100 feet of a wetland. So it's coming in for a 6.8 modification. So I think it makes sense to have the public hearing waived. Frankly, that would allow them to get on the next meeting rather than waiting to November and just speed everything up.
Okay, sounds good to me. Joe, do you have any thought? Joe Chadwick? Okay,
It's fine.
Okay. Joe Vayuso
I'm fine with it.
and Massimo?
I'm fine with it also.
Okay, so do you need a motion, Harry, or do we probably should, right?
Probably should.
Yeah, someone will make a motion that we waive the public hearing for item number 5, the special exception modification for grading for 115 Thimble Island Road, Matthew and Stephanie Milano applicants and all.
So move with that, Joe Vayuso.
Motion by Joe Vayuso, is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second, Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Massimo,
Massimo's in favor.
and Chair's also in favor.
Very
And
much.
then, okay, item number 6, another grading application that's also down for our next meeting, looks like, right?
Right. And then the final one is J&E Auto, and this has already been before the commission, and this was the application to bring back those two properties together in one application. So that's being done.
Okay, and that's on for our next meeting.
Correct.
And then we have 2 items under new business. One looks like an accessory structure. I assume you'll review and we can schedule a public hearing for that one.
Great.
And we need item number 2 is a zoning regulation amendment revising the floor area requirements for section 5.8F. That's the Stony Creek Architectural Review Board. We need to schedule a public hearing for that.
We'll double check the time. I think we got the referrals off to the EP and the Regional Planning Commission in enough time for that to happen. The second meeting in November, which would be November 21st, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll double check that. If we can move that up, we will. But I think that's the soonest it can be done.
Okay, doke. That brings us into other business. Planners report. What do you got for us?
Just want to note that I sent a couple of emails I received from the County Land Use Education group about training sessions available for the commission. There was one all day or most of the day session that I sent around. That is October 19th. Which would give you all 4 hours. Again, I think everyone's up to date, and it's a 2-year window as far as I understand it now. So if you went to this session on the 19th, you'd be good for the next 2 years. If you want to go, let us know. I think what we've done before is basically you had to upfront the registration fee. We reimburse you after you went to it. There's also these sort of lunch bag webinars they've been trying to do. So just 1 hour shots. And there's one on October 10th, which looks interesting, actually. Land use and real property markets, which I might sit in on myself. And that's free. So just trying to keep you updated with everything. The deadline for the request for proposal that was put out there for planning consultant is, I believe, next Monday. So we'll be back to the commission with whatever we receive and talk about options of moving that project forward. And I've made some stabs at the package of zoning regulation amendments we actually talked about last spring. And there were a few things I need to edit and go back and do some more research on. So I've got most of the changes that were discussed done, and just need to do a little bit of research and consult the town council about something, and hopefully wrap that up and get that ready to go out. and get scheduled for public hearing.
Great, thanks, Harry. Harry, also, I'll add that you and I received an email from Peter Henschel that the RTM, that the first selectman has requested the RTM to review possibly creating a harbor management commission. And that the rules and the committee, I don't know if it's rules and ordinance or whatever it is, but they're having a meeting on October 15th. And we were invited to have representation from P&Z. And I don't know if you can make it, Harry. I can't, because I know that I have to be out that night. But if anyone else is interested, I'd say contact Harry. What is a harbor management commission? It is something in the statutes that I think it involves when you have a lot of marinas and things, and review of dredging, and I think it's reviewed by DEEP. There's some intersection, maybe because we have coastal site plan things where there's some coastal impact, so there is some relation. But frankly, I haven't looked at the enabling statutes and see what it does. And frankly, I'm not a big. I don't own a motorized boat, so I may not be. I have a nice kayak and canoe, but that's not. There may be others that may have more interest in this, or a personal stakeholder at least. Harry, any other thing about that? Or
the Rules and Ordinance Committee is a committee of the representative town meeting, and it's chaired by Mr. Henschel. So I'll be attempting, or unless anything else gets in the way, trying to go to the first meeting. I understand it's going to be an effort that will extend over several months. So we'll try and keep tabs on it. And maybe there's a different way once it gets going to getting reports of some kind about what their progress is in terms of coming up with a draft or whatever. And I'll look around here. I know there's a member of P&Z staff that is an active voter, and maybe that person might be interested in following it for their own interests as well as that of the commission. So maybe that's an option too.
Sure. Yeah.
Harry, this is Massimo. Chuck, when's the date on that meeting?
It's a Tuesday, the 15th of October.
Like at 6:30 or something like that, I think, or around.
Is that
Really?
the community house?
I think they usually meet at the community house. I can find out for sure, Massimo.
Okay.
Usually it's one of the rooms of the community house. Are you interested enough for me to let you know?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm going on vacation. I think I'm coming back on the 14th, so that should be okay for me.
Okay.
Okie doke.
Great.
Okay, Harry, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? If not, then I guess we're open to a motion to adjourn.
Chadwick will make that motion.
Well,
Oh.
competition.
I heard Joe Chadwick go first. So Joe Chadwick makes the motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Joe will
Give that-
second.
Joe Vayuso gets second set. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Joe Chadwick,
Chadwick is in favor.
Joe Vayuso,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Massimo,
Massimo's in favor.
and Chair's also in favor. Thank you, everyone.
You guys are a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.